Good evening. Thank you for joining Assemblymember Tasha Boerner's How to Protect Your Personal Data webinar. My name is Ross Stritt. I work for the Assemblymember, and I'll be your MC for tonight. It's so nice to see so many people joining us and taking back control of your personal data. We have a really good special lineup for you. But before we begin, we're going to play a pre-recorded message from Assemblymember Tasha Boerner, who unfortunately could not be here tonight because she is in the last stretch of the legislative session up in Sacramento, where she is voting on nearly 900 bills this week. So she's very busy, but really happy that she could set this up. I'm going to turn it over to my staff member to share their screen of the pre-recorded message.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our How to Protect Your Personal Data webinar. I'm Assemblymember Tasha Boerner, and I represent District 77, which goes from Carlsbad all the way down the coast to downtown San Diego and includes Coronado. A special thank you to our amazing speakers, Bryce Avalos from Cal Privacy, QE Lee from the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, and Chao Jun Liu from the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Thank you for being here and for sharing your time and expertise. And thank you as well to everyone attending tonight to learn how to take steps to gain more control over your personal data. California is leading the way on privacy rights. I'm excited to share a major new resource. California's free delete request and opt-out platform, known as DROP, is now live. DROP is designed to help California residents take action to delete personal data held by data brokers and opt out of the sale of that data. This program was made possible by SB 362, the DROP Act, which I was proud to support in the Assembly. Today, our goal is to walk you through the process in an easy, step-by-step way on how to register for DROP and what to expect. We also cover best practices for protecting your online privacy and what can happen when personal information ends up in the wrong hands. In today's digital age, personal data is often collected, sold, and used in ways that many people aren't aware of. That can mean invasive, overly targeted ads. It can also lead to real consequences like families being targeted by ICE or job displacement from AI. That's why it's so important to adopt safer, smarter online habits, starting now. I hope you find today's webinar helpful, and please reach out to my office if you have any questions or need help getting connected to state resources.
As the Assemblymember mentioned, we're going to be walking through how to register for DROP tonight. And the best part about this program is that you only need to sign up once. After that, your data is deleted in perpetuity on a monthly basis. Before we jump into signing up for DROP, we're going to start out with a presentation from Chao, who works for the Electronic Frontier Foundation, also known as the EFF. The EFF is a leading organization working to protect online privacy rights and defend constitutional civil liberties in the digital world. Chao is a senior legislative associate at EFF, where he supports advocacy for a free, open, and accessible internet in state legislatures and in Congress. Tonight, he's going to set the tone for the webinar and explain why digital privacy matters. And he's also going to be giving some practical online tips that you can start using today. We're really lucky to have Chao here tonight. And if you have any questions during his presentation, please submit them in the Q&A box. After all three of our presenters are done with their presentations, we're going to have a 10-minute Q&A, and we're going to get to as many questions as possible. So with that, Chao, I'm going to hand it over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ross. I'm going to share my screen now, and let's see. All right. My presentation is coming through. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Ross. Thank you for the introduction. Again, my name is Chao. So my assumption, because you're here, is that you care about privacy. My goal then is to show you that while the fight is tough, it is worth it, and that we might even be winning. So how will I do that? Well, as Ross talked about, and I'm going to supplement, I'm going to start with just a little bit about why privacy is important. Second, we'll talk about how orgs like EFF fight for your privacy rights. We'll transition into some practical privacy tips on how to protect your privacy online. And then I want to end by briefly talking about how I think about privacy and just sharing that perspective. So first, why does privacy matter? Well, I think about privacy as a right, and privacy is about power, agency, and choice. And I recognize those are some pretty big and broad words. And like, what does that all mean, right? So let me give you three examples to make it real. So the first example is you live in a household with a partner and you're trying to get them a gift and you want to keep it a surprise. But as you do research for that gift, two things are likely happening at the same time. The first is that the websites that you're visiting and the ad trackers on those sites see you looking for that gift, and they're going to start serving you and your household ads. Uh, and as they do so, they may incidentally serve your partner that ad and ruin that surprise. So now this corporate surveillance is, sort of ruining your relationship. At the same time, these websites and ad trackers are seeing you do this research, seeing you look at this product, and they may shift the price because they know that you're now in the market and they can probably sort of get you to pay a little bit more for that product. So now your loss of privacy is also hitting your pocketbook. As a second example, then, I want to switch to government surveillance and talk about automated license plate readers, or ALPRs. Many of you may have heard of this company called Flock. If not, Flock makes these automated license plate readers, which are basically camera systems that automatically capture all license plates that come into view, along with the location, date, and time of which they capture the image. And sometimes in taking that photo, they look inside the vehicle itself. Law enforcement agencies contract with companies like Flock to install these ALPR systems onto their vehicles as well as just on public roads. These pictures are automatically taken, they're uploaded to a local database and then connected to a national database. And which is all to say that there's a database that has very, very detailed information about your automobile movements, which can show, for example, your place of worship, where your doctor's office is, where you live, your closest associates, where you shop. It could also create situations like Texas cops querying 83,000 cameras via the national database to track down a woman in Texas who left the state to have an abortion. So here, this level of government surveillance has translated to the lack of bodily autonomy for that woman. And as a third example, EFF works domestically, but we also have an international team. The international team works in South America, Europe, Africa, and Middle East. And they work with advocates, journalists, lawyers, and technologists, often in more authoritarian regimes. Privacy for them is the ability to speak freely, to organize, and to fight for a better place. And lack of privacy could mean imprisonment or potentially something worse. So when I say privacy matters and privacy is important and is about these big words of privacy, of power, agency, and choice, I mean everything from just protecting your pocketbook to someone exercising the bodily autonomy to fighting back against authoritarian regimes. And so how do we do that, right? Like I'm talking about some of the largest, most powerful companies in the world. I'm talking about authoritarian regimes. How do we fight them? How do orgs like EFF fight them? And why do I say that potentially we're winning? Well, first and foremost, none of us are doing this work alone. EFF is one of dozens of organizations with a deep, deep privacy focus. And we work with other organizations who bring in their expertise, and together is how we advance privacy rights in many areas of life. So, for example, over the last several years, we've worked with labor unions to advance privacy rights when it comes to workers in the workplace, especially in our current discourse around AI and automated decision making. We've worked with LGBTQ plus and trans orgs on privacy for queer and trans folks. We've worked with reproductive justice orgs to make sure that, again, like someone with who is pregnant may come to California or other states and receive healthcare and return to their state safely, as safe as they could. Which is all to say, we don't do this fight alone. We do not fight alone. And for those of you out there who care about privacy and have privacy anxieties, like you're not alone in this. Second, we fight in state houses and courtrooms. As Ross noted, we have federal practice as well, but given we are in California and this is a presentation for the Assemblymember, I really want to have a California focus. So in California, we have the Privacy Protection Act, the CCPA, which set a baseline in California and inspired a wave of other state privacy bills in other states, which some are better, some are worse. But in CCPA setting a floor in California, we have been able to innovate upon that floor to create better and stronger privacy rights for those of us here. For example, the Delete Act, the Drop Act, which created the drop system that we're all here to celebrate and learn about and talk about today. Well, where that comes from is CCPA creates the right to delete information from data brokers. But as an individual, if you're going to find and ask each individual data broker to delete your information, is playing the worst game of whack-a-mole on the internet. So what Drop does is create a single system to exercise that deletion right across all registered data brokers, which is a huge, huge win, right? There is also AB 566, which was passed last year, which does a similar thing with a different right. The CCPA creates a right to opt out of businesses selling and sharing your information to third parties. I'm sure we've all had the experience of going on a website and they're asking like, do you want to opt out? And you just have to click through it every time you're on a new website. And it's sort of annoying. Well, AB 566 creates what's called a global privacy control or global opt-out. And browsers like Chrome and Firefox have to create one. And all you have to do is just turn it on, set and forget, and it will tell every company and every website you go to that you don't want your information to be sold or shared. And this is going to be enforced. It's going to be rule of law come the new year, January 1st, 2027. EFF works in other states as well, and many orgs like EFF work in other states as well. And other states do have their own really great privacy laws, some of which we've helped to pass, some of which they did on their own. Outside of the state house, we also have work in courtrooms. And you see that a lot of these are hyperlinked. Slides will be shared after this. I'm told that slides will be shared after this presentation, so you can click on all of this and explore it on your own time. But the two I really want to highlight here are Carpenter versus United States and Chaudhry versus United States, because both were Supreme Court cases that went our way and led to a huge win when it comes to your sort of locational privacy rights. Together, these cases say that law enforcement needs to get a warrant before they can get location information from electronic devices like your cell phone. As we know, like your cell phone has your location sort of at all times. Well, before these two cases, law enforcement could basically ask companies for that location information without a warrant. In Carpenter, they tracked someone by their phone for 127 days without a warrant. And in Chaudhry, law enforcement cast essentially like a net over a large area and captured multiple people's cell phones and went through them basically one by one individually to find their suspect, which in other words meant that those folks were caught in that net were guilty until proven innocent. Well, like Chaudhry was decided just in June, just 2 months ago. And together, like again, like these are huge, huge wins when it comes to privacy. And third, I really want to highlight that we fight also, and any orgs fight on a technological front. As much as the tech to track us has advanced, so too has the tech to protect us. For example, did you know that not even 16 years ago, most of the internet was not actually secure? It used to be that anyone with the right sort of technological chops and the wrong mindset could eavesdrop on a website and see what people were doing or even hijack that website. Well, that's no longer the case because orgs like EFF and others worked really hard to encrypt the web and secure the web. And as of 2021, 90% of all websites online were encrypted, fixing a lot of those problems. Our communications with one another are also increasingly encrypted. I have some examples below. For example, like Signal basically makes its name for the fact that it is an encrypted communications platform. More recently, Apple and Android have reached an agreement that now messages between them are encrypted. We also have more tools, and third, we also have more tools than we previously had. We now have two-factor authentication. We now have VPNs. As previously noted, like we're going to have global privacy controls in California very, very soon. Privacy. What I really want you to take away from this slide is that privacy is no longer just something for the technologically savvy. It is now easier than ever for everyone to have digital privacy, and this is how orgs like EFF fight for your privacy rights. Now I want to sort of transition us into some practical privacy tips. If you zoned out at this point, this is the time to zone back in. These are three things that you can do right now that will really, really increase your privacy. The first is to install Privacy Badger. Disclaimer, Privacy Badger is an EFF program that we created and maintain, but it is one of those global privacy controls in which you install onto your browser like Firefox or Chrome. You set it and forget it, and it will tell websites to not track you. Second, you should disable the mobile advertising ID tracking on your phone. The instructions are right there for you. And it's essentially a way for your phone to tell these apps to not track you and not allow these apps to track you. And third, use the drop system, right? That's why we're here today. Use the drop system, use the drop system. Please, please, please use the drop system. I've also included two EFF resources down there. The first is a blog, which has 22 tips to protect your privacy. And the second, which I will highlight in the next slide, is EFF's Surveillance Self-Defense Guide. So our Surveillance Self-Defense Guide, or SSD as we call it, is a project that is really meant to take as many people as possible from no understanding, very little understanding, to a basic, to a very basic to strong understanding, to be able to like use these tools to create a very strong privacy profile and really even take them to advanced if that's where they want to go. I've linked a lot of this, and a lot of these are screenshots as well of what is offered under these buckets. But to go over briefly, like we have a basics section in which we go over the basics of like how to create a strong password, to even like what is this encryption thing that people are talking about? Like why is encryption important? How does it make us more secure? We have a tool guide section that is a little more advanced that will take you through specific tools, or even like, well, if you have an iPhone, how do you get the most privacy out of your iPhone? And then we have specific security scenarios, which put together and collate a bunch of other resources to address specific situations. Because, for example, a journalist in Russia will have a very different sort of thinking about their privacy compared to a queer teen. I also want to note here that these guides are available in English, Spanish, Chinese, Portuguese, Arabic, Russian, French, Vietnamese, Burmese, and a couple other languages, because we really wanted to make it as accessible to as many people as possible, because we know that it's being used around the globe by a lot of people to protect their privacy and to fight for their rights. And now I'd like, last, I really want to finally, I want to talk about like just briefly how I think about privacy. And the way I think about privacy is that it's really a process. We fight, act, and negotiate with privacy on our own terms every day, because we all have different risk factors and we all have different risk tolerances. Well, thinking back to a previous example, like a journalist in Russia is going to have a very different risk profile and tolerance to a queer teen in Texas. And the queer teen in Texas is going to have a different tolerance and risk factors than like a queer teen in La Jolla. Second, privacy is a community good. The more privacy that everyone has, the better off we all are. Not to pick on Russia again, but like if everyone like in Russia had encrypted communications, then their government would have a much, much more difficult time spying on them. So when everyone gets more privacy, we all benefit from that. And third, when it comes to privacy, like time really does heal most wounds. The reason companies want our data all the time is because your data gets old and gets stale. Some things like your fingerprints, your DNA, or like your eye scan are forever. But other things like where you live, your favorite food, your favorite movie, what you buy at the grocery store, like those are more liable to change. And so if we were to pass a law today that cut off access to your data, it means that the data that companies have right now just gets less and less and less relevant as time goes on, which means your privacy gets better, which is also to say there is never a bad time to pass a good privacy law. And so now that we've gone through like why privacy matters, how orgs like EFF fight, how to enhance their own privacy, and as in the presentation, I hope that you've taken something away from this, and I hope that I've convinced you that the fight is worth having, that there are folks fighting for you as we speak, and that we might even be winning. Thank you.
Chow, thank you so much for that presentation, and we'll make sure to share those resources with everybody. Um, And our next speaker is Megan, who is the Deputy Director of Public and External Affairs for Cal Privacy. Cal Privacy is a state agency that was created back in 2022 when voters passed Proposition 24 and implements and enforces California's landmark privacy laws. Megan is going to show you how to register for DROP and explain what privacy rights you have as a California resident. And I also want to quickly give a big thank you to Megan for filling in for Bryce so last minute. We really appreciate you being here. I'm going to hand it over to you, Megan.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. In 2020, voters like yourselves passed Proposition 24. And as I said, that's the California Privacy Rights Act, which created our agency. And we are an independent state agency. We're just dedicated to protecting the privacy rights of California consumers. We're the first state agency of its kind in the whole United States. No other state has an agency like ours in the United States. Cal Privacy's core mission is to implement and enforce California's landmark privacy laws, including the California Privacy Act and the Delete Act, and very soon, coming in 2027, that was referenced, the Opt Me Out Act, which goes into effect January 1 of next year. The agency helps educate the public of privacy rights and helps businesses understand their compliance obligations under the law. Now, also good news, we have an enforcement team. So just like the California Attorney General, we have enforcement rights. So we can investigate companies when we get complaints from citizens like yourself, and we can fine companies if they don't comply with the law. So California Cal Privacy protects your privacy rights related to all things related to your personal information. So why have we been on this screen for so long? Because a lot of people need to know, what is your personal information? Well, it's literally everything you see right here. Generally, we think of it as any data that can identify, relate to, or be connected to an individual. Common examples include name, email, browsing history, and location. And personal information can be collected online. We always think of it that way, but just a reminder for you, it can also be collected offline. So say you're at a store and they're asking for your phone number to enroll you in some sort of program. It's always your option to say no. That's another time where you have every right to say no. In-person situations. In addition, there are additional protections under law for sensitive personal information. So you've seen this slide for a while, but when we're talking about sensitive personal information, that's information that if it's exposed is considered even more private and could lead to even serious harm. So sensitive personal information includes things like your social security number, financial details, health information, and biometric details. I provided a lot of details and definitions up front because I just don't ever like to assume that everybody knows the lingo. So we're all starting from a common understanding of personal information and data brokers. At least you all are familiar with it a little bit. So now we will go to the next slide. I hope I did it correctly. We should be on slide 2. So this is concerns regarding data brokers. A data broker, what are they? Oops, here we go. A data broker is a business that gathers and sells personal information that a consumer didn't give them directly. Data brokers pose a unique and serious threat to us because when they're selling your information, you don't even know they're out there and you don't have any direct relationship with them. These practices can lead to digital dossiers that can be misused and lead to exploitation, breaches, things along those lines. Consumers also often have no idea that their data is being used in this way. So now let's go to the next slide. Now, I'd love it if you're interested, go ahead and scan that QR code because now we're going to get into the meat of DROP. So we've covered personal information, data brokers, and now let's talk about DROP, the Delete, Request, and Opt-out platform. DROP is free. It's an online tool that Cal Privacy developed. It's part of the legislature passed the law, and we're implementing the law, as was referenced in the video earlier today by the Assemblywoman. DROP launched January 1, and so far we have data. It deletes your information from registered data brokers. Right now there's over 650 registered data brokers that have registered with DROP. This is over 100 more than we had even last year. So more data brokers, as they know we're enforcing the law, are registering. And then when they register, they then will access DROP and they start deletions. Now deletions started on August 1. Obviously we're almost at the end of August, so deletions have been going on for a little while. DROP Drop is secure, it's safe, and it protects your information. It's fast and it's easy to use. You will never be charged to use Drop. So if anybody ever says, oh, you have to pay for that, you do not. And I love to share this too, it's not even paid for by taxpayer dollars. This is paid for by the data brokers. When they register with our agency, they have to pay a fee. And so this is what funds Drop, not taxpayer dollars. So let's get into some of the more benefits around Drop. Why would you sign up for this? Well, it gives you more control of your personal information because you can limit it. How many of us, I know I can't see your hands, but I'm sure plenty of you are tired of receiving those scam texts, phone calls. I'm raising my hand. A lot of people get your cell phone number, these companies, because they bought them through a data broker. So if you sign up for Drop and your information gets deleted, you will start to see likely less spam calls. And as was referenced in the previous information, data brokers just want fresh info. So if they haven't had if your information is old because you deleted it through Drop, it's just not as valuable. So another great reason. And you also just prevent yourself from maybe being exposed to fraud or anything along those lines too. So it's a really, really exciting program. And I want to get to the meat of it, how it works, right? Okay, so it's a 3-step process. I tell everybody this ahead of time. You've seen I've had technical issues today. So I've signed up for Drop. I've walked my mom, my mother-in-law, everybody how to walk through Drop. It really, truly is simple. So you just do it in 3 steps. The first thing you need to do is you need to confirm that you're a California resident. And you do that through verifying your eligibility. We're going to ask you if you're a California resident because Drop is only available to California residents. So if you happen to have a child that's maybe in college or something like that, they're a California resident, they can still sign up for Drop. But people from other states would like to have their information deleted from data brokers, and we only service Californians. So that's why we're going to ask you, please confirm you're a California resident. You'll provide some personal information to do that. And then you're also going to create your profile. That's step 2. You'll provide all the information you feel comfortable providing in the platform. Then you'll go on to step 3. You'll submit your request and receive a confirmation. Now, data brokers, as I mentioned, you were able to, maybe a little confusing with the timeline, so let me clarify there. Drop launched January 1, but you could only, and so you could sign up anytime after January 1 of this year, but data brokers only started accessing the system in August because this is a first-time thing. So they haven't started deleting until August 1. So as you know, they've been deleting for about a month. So there's no need to wait. They truly have started deleting. And that's why we have over 500,000 Californians that have already signed up, which is just so, so exciting. So I highly encourage you to sign up. Let me take you quickly through what it's going to look like because I don't want anybody to be surprised. So once you go to the privacy website, you're going to see a big button that says sign up for Drop. You're going to go ahead and click that. And then when you do it, it's going to take you right here to the residency page. As I mentioned, you'll go ahead and enter in some basic information to show that you're a California resident. Then you're going to go ahead and create that profile, as I mentioned. You're entering as much information as you're comfortable with. And then the last thing you're going to do is just submit that request. It takes 8 to 10 minutes is the average person to submit this. And then after you're done, you're going to receive a Drop ID. I tell everybody, please, please hold on to that Drop ID. If you lose it, you can always come back to us. We'll get it for you, but it's going to take a little while. So just save that number somewhere where you like to save your passwords and usernames and things like that. And you're going to be using that if you'd like, if you're interested, just to go in and check your Drop status. I do it just because I find it interesting. I signed up for Drop a couple months ago, and it's fun to just see the deletions add up. It makes me feel good. Also, if I happen to change cell phone numbers, if I add a new email, if I move, I can always go into Drop and add more information. So just as the Assemblymember shared, it is a one and done. But also know that, if you want to take a couple extra minutes because you moved or you remembered an old email address that you want to get off of data brokers list too, come back in and add it. It's no big deal. Okay, so then what happens next? As I mentioned, they're processing requests, you're checking anytime, and you're adding any information that you'd like. Now, I know I spent a good amount of time on Drop, and these are all your other privacy rights. Just to give you a snapshot of your privacy rights that you get as a Californian, Drop really touches on the delete one, which you can see is at the very bottom of your list. So We can't go over all your rights today or how you would exercise all your rights. I think that's a lot to take in, but I do have a resource for you. Would love to stay in touch. As you'll see here, we have a QR code. Please follow us on social media. But most importantly, if you're interested in learning more about your privacy rights, Drop's a simple way to do it, but also come to privacy.ca.gov. There we have very helpful videos that you'll be able to watch. It'll take you step by step through some very basic things. I use them myself, and they're just really helpful tools, small things you can do to better protect your personal information. So that's the end of my presentation, and I will stop sharing screen now.
Megan, thank you so much. That was so informative, and it's so nice to see how quick and easy it is to sign up for Drop. And if anyone who is watching has any issues, please contact our office and we can help you out. Get signed up for that. And we are going to move on to our next and final speaker, Q, who is the Director of Targeted Outreach for the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, which is a state department that protects consumers and fosters trust in the financial marketplace through regulation, examination, enforcement, education, and customer service. Q is going to cover what can happen if your personal data ends up in the wrong hands. He's going to go over some common scams and tips on how to avoid them. And he's also going to be sharing some resources on what to do when you have been scammed. Signing up for Drop is a really strong first step, and this is going to build on that foundation. So with that, Q, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Russ. Drop, excellent program. I can't plug it enough. I'm signed up for it. I'm one of those individuals that took 10 minutes to do it. But it is a great program. I highly recommend it. And just like Russ was saying, what can happen if you don't protect your information? Identity theft. That's kind of a common thing that can happen. So we're going to talk about today how to protect yourself from identity theft and other scams. Again, my name is Cooley. I'm the Targeted Outreach Director for the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. It's a long name. We just go by the DFPI. Just a quick disclaimer. I got to read this. The views and opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the presenter. They do not necessarily reflect the views and positions of the DFPI. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. This is not legal or financial advice. I believe a copy of these slides will be made available to you after the webinar. But if you'd like us to go out to your communities and provide this presentation, please let us know. I have a whole team all across California that does this as well as other scam prevention, financial education presentations. Our email address is outreach@dfpi.ca.gov. Okay. Quickly, I just want to talk about the DFPI. Who are we? What do we do? We are California's financial regulator. Our purpose is to maintain a fair, healthy, and trusted financial marketplace for all Californians. We do this through regulating, enforcing, overseeing a variety of financial services, products, and professionals in California. And then, of course, we provide free presentations just like this, again, to help protect consumers and to help prevent them from falling prey to frauds and scams. We do have a dedicated section on our website where we publish news articles, consumer alerts, a list of all the different events that we do. Please check that out. The link to that part of our website is dfpi.ca.gov/consumers. Okay, so identity theft, what is it? It happens when someone uses your personal identification information without your permission, typically to impersonate you, to claim your benefits, or to commit fraud or other financial crimes. Here's some statistics from 2025. This comes from the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC. They logged 1.3 million cases, reports of identity theft. The most common form of identity theft was hijacked and newly opened credit card accounts. The most widely used method of identity theft was text message. And then emails were the second most widely used. However, phone calls had the highest financial loss. So basically, this is just methodology of how the identity thieves were able to get their victims' information and then do things like hijack or open new credit card accounts. Here's some common information that identity thieves usually target. Obviously, your basic contact information, name, address, email, phone number, but they also want things like your social security number, your driver's license number, financial accounts, medical insurance information, PIN numbers, passwords, and other benefit information. And obviously, they use this information. It's all kind of a piece of puzzle. They want to kind of put that puzzle together and able to access your accounts or even trick other professionals to giving access to your accounts, right? So how do identity thieves get your information? Well, imposter scams is the largest category of ways that these identity thieves, scammers can get your information. So things like phishing scams, where they're posing as legitimate organizations. They may pose as your bank, you're the fraud department from your bank, and they want you to verify information, give you what's your account number, what's your mother's maiden name, that kind of a thing. We have data breaches, physical theft, like someone stealing your wallet, even mail theft. There's also things like dumpster diving. Then there's ATM point of sale skimming. We have malware, also known as malicious software. Unsecured Wi-Fi, weak passwords, or if you're not using multi-factor authentication. These are all ways that the identity thieves can get your information, but also very, very important, they could just straight up buy your information, and from data brokers too. Data brokers, they will sell your data to anyone. They don't actually vet, and they don't care who is buying your data. So if you have a lot of data out there, if you're not using Drop to get yourself removed from these data brokers, sometimes if a identity thief has some information, they have your name, a phone number, they might be able to buy the rest of your data, and now they create a better profile of who you are so that they can impersonate you, get access to your bank accounts or other financial accounts. So be careful about that. Register for Drop, get yourself deleted so that doesn't happen. So how do identity thieves use your information? Here's some very common methods. Things like opening up new credit card accounts or loans. They may make fraudulent withdrawals from your accounts, use your existing credit cards. They may even call your credit card company, say, again, they're using your identity to pose as you, and then they might have your credit card canceled and then have a new credit card mailed to their location, right? They may obtain services, medical services, prescription drugs in your name. They may file fraudulent tax returns. They may use your identity to get a job or apply for jobs or apply for other benefits. They may present your name to law enforcement if they are arrested. They may even try to sign a new lease or get utilities or phone accounts if they have enough of your identity. So very important to protect your identity and your data. Signs you might be a victim of identity theft. So if you get unexpected bills or collection calls, unauthorized charges on your financial statements, if you're receiving credit cards that you didn't apply for, big red flag. Denials for loans or credit disputes, even though you know you have good credit. Missing bills or mail, that's usually a sign that a thief might have changed your mailing address, or they might have stolen your mail. Unfamiliar accounts or inquiries on your credit report that you don't know about. So there's things like a hard credit pull and a soft credit pull. There's ways you could find out who's doing all these credit pulls, right? Hard or soft. And it might not be you. It might be some identity theft thief who's trying to apply for a loan, try to apply for a credit card. So you can check on that. Notifications to the IRS that more than one tax return was filed in your name. Yes, big red flag and a sign that you might be a victim of identity theft. So how can you, we talked a lot about the data identity thieves are trying to do, the data they're trying to grab and steal. Let's talk about how you can protect yourself. So very first and most important I like to think about is a very easy to do, register for Cal Privacy's Drop program. You can also protect yourself from scams. We'll talk a little more about this in the next couple of slides. Limit personal information on social media. It is so important, so important that if you have a social media profile somewhere, you set it to private, because if you have your social media profile as public, it's very easy for a scammer to go on any social media profile and learn things about you, where you live, where you work, who's your friends and families, what community groups you're a part of, right? If your social media profile is not set to private, they could do all these things. You want to shred personal or private or financial documents, and use a cross-cut shredder if you can. The strip cuts are they're not that good. Use multi-factor authentication. Very, very important. I have a whole story to talk about how important it is and how you could save yourself. Regularly check your financial accounts and credit reports. Put a credit freeze on your credit. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. And then, of course, delete unused or old online profiles or accounts. If you have old email accounts, old streaming accounts that you no longer use, go to those accounts and ask them to delete it completely, because if you just leave those sitting around and they become a victim of a data breach, now all your information is out there. So if you're not planning to use an old streaming service or an email address anymore, have all that data in there deleted. What to do if you become a victim of identity theft? First thing you want to do is notify your financial institutions, the DMV, other organizations. Get new cards with new numbers. Very, very important here. Sometimes financial institutions will just send you a new card, but it has the old credit card numbers. They didn't actually change anything. Ask them for a brand new card with a new number, so that those identity thieves, whoever else, can't use your old card to charge stuff on. Set up fraud alerts wherever applicable. Review all your bank and credit card accounts carefully. Freeze your credit. You can do this by going to each of the credit bureaus. When you freeze your credit, you can still use your credit card and debit cards like normal, no big deal. But once your credit is frozen, not even you will be able to get a new line of credit, a credit card, a loan, new mortgage. Those companies will not be able to issue you that kind of loan or line of credit unless you unfreeze your credit. So great way to protect your identity, great way to stop someone from taking out loans in your name. You can accept free credit monitoring services or get credit monitoring services to help you, again, monitor if someone is trying to use your credit. The IRS also has an identity protection pen, which you can apply for. Again, it's a great way to protect you so that no one, not even you, will be able to submit your income tax return unless you have that identity protection pin, and that's issued from the IRS. And then there's also the FTC. They have a website. It's a great website, identitytheft.gov. You can get a personalized recovery plan from them. You just have to go through the prompts, and it'll help you figure out what happened to your identity and ways you can, things that you should consider to go through. So great website to check out if you become a victim of identity theft and start the road to recovery. Quickly, I just want to talk about the fact that scammers are using AI to enhance their scams. I used to have a video here, but I'm going to summarize it. In 2023, John was contacted by scammers. The scammers use the voice of his daughter. There's a AI voice cloning software on the web, very easy to use. They use his daughter's voice to make it sound like she was in trouble, and he drove up to a meetup location with cash to give the scammers, but luckily his wife had actually called their actual daughter and she was perfectly fine, so he didn't give any money away, but he was absolutely convinced that it was his daughter because it sounded exactly like her. This was in 2023. The AI programs to clone voices has just gotten better, and we want to let you know that again, scammers are using AI to enhance, to make their scams much more convincing and harder to detect. So what do you do, right? How can you protect yourself from scams? Well, my department, we've developed what we call the 6 layers of scam prevention. Think of it like layers of armor or lines of defense. Your first line of defense, you don't want to respond to scammers, right? They're going to call you, they're going to email you, they're going to text message you. No matter how they're contacting you, if it's an important phone call but you don't know the number, just let it go to voicemail. They will leave the voicemail for you, right? This is your first and most important line of defense. Do not respond to the scammers. Second line of defense, do your research, right? Look for those red flags, verify information, check credentials. Always go directly to the official source. Don't click on any links that are sent to you. Don't call any phone numbers that they leave you. Go directly to the official source, find out what the actual phone number is, and call that. Take your time. We know that scammers use emergencies. They kind of create a sense of urgency to make you act fast. And when you're acting, trying to go really fast, you're going to miss out on the red flags that you normally would pick up on. So ignore anyone who's threatening you, giving you limited time opportunity, telling you not to share information with others, or asking you for your personal financial information. Just slow down, take your time, and think it through. Layer 4 protection. This is kind of what today's webinar is all about, which is limit or do not share information, right? Limit what you share on social media, limit what you share on sign-up forms, phone apps. If you have a smart device that is always listening to you, like Google Speaker or Amazon Alexa, they're probably always listening to you all the time and recording your conversations. Those conversations are not being kept on that device. It's being uploaded to the cloud. So if you have a smart device that's always listening to you, you could go to the settings and turn that active listening off. I can't tell you how to do it, but I want to tell you to do it if you can, so that it's not copying all information and just putting it out there in the cloud. And then, of course, talk to someone you trust. Really, really important. Another person can always provide additional perspective. They can often point out the red flags that you miss, especially if you're going really, really fast. Consider using a challenge and a passphrase, right? In that instance where, John heard the voice of his daughter, if he had a challenge and she could give the correct passphrase, he would know that it is his actual daughter. So consider using a challenge and a passphrase for your friends and family. And again, talking to someone else, really great chance to not just slow down, but also get additional feedback. Finally, stay vigilant. We know that the scammers are always trying to call you, contacting you, and they know that you're not going to pick up the first time. They know that you're not going to pick up the 20th time, but they know that at some point you're waiting for a call from your doctor. You're waiting for a call from a service person, like a plumber or electrician, and that's when you're going to pick up their phone call. So we want you to stay vigilant. Regularly check your financial accounts, regularly check your credit reports, and don't forget to report the incident to organizations such as your local law enforcement, also state authorities like the DFPI. There's also the DCA, which is the Department of Consumer Affairs, and then federal authorities like the FTC, which operates the report fraud .ftc.gov website. They're amazing. We work with all of these agencies, including your local legislative offices, to help you not just recover from these scams, but also protect your community from these scams. Finally, just a reminder, we're here to protect you and your community. If you observe or have been a victim of a scam, financial fraud, or abusive business practice, things like predatory lending, let us know. We want to shut that kind of stuff down. If you observe instances of elder financial abuse, let us know. We work very closely with Adult Protective Services, and we have a call center number and also a link where you could submit complaints or reports of scams. With that, I do want to hand it back to Ross. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for allowing us to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. That was a really helpful presentation and really makes a real difference in preventing these types of scams from happening. And with that, we're going to switch gears and jump into the Q&A. We already have a few questions right now. And as a reminder to the viewer, if you could please indicate who you are asking the question to, it'll make the Q&A go by a little bit quicker. And we're just going to jump right into it. The first question that we're going to ask is, and it's going to be for Megan. It is, do I have to sign up for Drop on all my devices, computer, phone, iPad, or do I only need to sign up once in one place?
Good question. You sign up once in one place on the device you're most comfortable with.
Thank you, Megan. We have another question, and we're going to be having this directed towards Chow. And this attendee is wondering, when they delete their browsing history from their browser, Google, Edge, Firefox, on their computer, is it actually being deleted or not?
It kind of depends, but for the most part, it's deleting your view of it and like your household's view of it. But on the back side, Google is still, or whoever your browser provider is, still has some of that information. So I guess no, the answer is no.
Yeah, it's a kinda. It's you're right, Chow. On your computer, your browser history disappears if you delete it. But Google, when you use Google to search stuff, they're capturing and remembering that search history. So it's a kind of.
Thank you, Q. Let's see. And then this question is going to be directed towards Megan. They're wondering about the security infrastructure built into Drop. What sort of protections are being built in on site to prevent it from being hacked?
Yes, I think that's a great, great question. We have a lot of information about this on our website. Not, I shouldn't say that, not a lot of information. We have some really straightforward information that should take about 4 minutes to review. It's a little technical, but essentially what happens is the information is hashed. So once you enter it in, that information winds up being a whole bunch of dashes that nobody could know, and the data brokers are seeing the hashed information, they match it on the back end, and they delete. So if your question is, are data brokers seeing my email when I input it into Drop? No, you do not have to worry about that. I believe there may be a different aspect to that question too, though. I know they were concerned about the hashing and how safe it is. In terms of just overall the system not being susceptible to hacking, maybe that was another question that you have. It was designed privacy protected in mind. So just like you have any of these other very strong systems that know they are holding a lot of personal information, they should be designed exactly the way Drop was to prevent hack.
Thank you, Megan.
Mhm.
And then as a reminder, yes, we will be sending out the information provided if you request it. And then let's see. I'm going to go down this list. There's someone that's asking about the MAID identifier for Drop. So this would be for you, Megan.
Yeah.
This is something that I actually encountered when I signed up for Drop yesterday. And I believe that that Drop recommends, or the website recommends, to opt out of that advertising on their website with Apple, so that the apps don't track between apps. But if you have anything to add, please add.
Nope, that's exactly it. So if you have an Apple, you're not going to have a MAID to input into Drop is the straight and simple answer. If you have an Android, you will have a MAID. So if you have an Android, you're going to want to check out the MAID informational video. It's, I think, 90 seconds. It'll show you exactly where to find your MAID so you can enter it into Drop. If you have an iPhone and you want to do exactly what Ross just explained, but you're not quite sure how to do it, find that MAID video as well on the privacy website. It'll walk you through how to do that for your Apple phone.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan.
Mm-hmm.
There's a question in here about cookies, and I'm going to leave this one actually open. Does anyone have any comment about how people should be worried about cookies, if they should be deleting their cookies regularly? Any commentary at all?
I'll throw out here. It's completely up to you. If you don't feel safe about leaving cookies on your computers, you could just normally go through your browser, whether it's like Chrome or Firefox or Edge, whatever it is, and delete those cookies, delete those browsing history. That's perfectly fine. The other thing you can do is use, and many of these popular browsers have a what do you call it? It's a mode, right? So I think in Google Chrome, it's called incognito mode. I think there's like a private mode in Firefox or something like that. And when you use that mode, you can browse websites without having your personal information kind of available. It may still pick up cookies, but after you close out the session, it'll automatically delete like the history plus cookies. So do your research. There's a lot of different ways around it. Cookies used to be a very controversial thing and a security risk, that type of thing. It's kind of fallen behind because web security has gotten better now.
Thank you, Q. Megan, I have another question for you, and this one has to do with the business model of data brokers. And the person is asking, why would the brokers pay CA to cooperate with the state if their business model wants to obtain the data in the first place?
Yes, they have to. Just like any business would have to register, not any business, but most businesses have to register with the state, and maybe they even pay a fee, a business fee. That's essentially what the data brokers are doing. They have to register with Cal Privacy through the Drop platform if they're a data broker, and they have to do it if they are doing business with a California consumer. So even if they are a data broker in a different state, if they do business with a California consumer, which most data brokers do because we're a very big state, then they have to delete the information. Now, why would they comply? Why would they pay? Why would they register? Because we go after them. Have we gone after them? Absolutely, we have. If you'd like to go to the privacy website, I bet you there's at least 12 press releases you'll find on there and various data brokers that we've gone after and we find just for non-registration. So they have to register with the database, with the registry. Now, I'm going a little bit further ahead just so you're assured that the drop actually is meaningful. Come October, these deletions need to be done by data brokers. If they're not deleting your information and they're supposed to, the fine is $200 per day per incident. So that means if it's a company and they have 5,000 Californians' personal information and they didn't delete it, that's 5,000 people times 200 times every day they don't comply. So the fines are real, and data brokers have gone out of business for non-compliance, or they've been barred from doing business with California consumers. So great question.
Thanks, Megan. And I have another one for you. And it has to do with the limit of the amount of emails that you can input into Drop. Is Cal Privacy planning on expanding this in the future?
Yes, yes, you are one of many who says I need more than 3 emails to enter. So please, if you do sign up for that newsletter, you'll be the first to know our external newsletter. We haven't launched it yet. It's going to come out in October. I promise you it's only quarterly. We won't bombard you, but that's where you'll hear tips like learning about OOPS when it becomes January 1, once it goes into effect, how to enable that on your Chrome and Safari. I'm very excited to share more there. But then also you'll find other tips related to drop and things like that. So it's a very, very helpful resource.
Got it. Thank you so much. And then Hugh, I think you just answered one in the chat. Someone asked if they can do this on Safari. The answer is yes, you can do this on Safari. If you someone had here's another one for you, Megan. If you have a business and a home address can both be put into one file, or are separate files necessary?
No, enter it into drop together. Do one drop profile.
And then the one of the final ones here is, if tracking has always been disabled on your Apple iPhone, do you still have to sign up for Drop?
Yes, because, well, you don't have to sign up for Drop. It is totally up to you. It is a service that California provides. If you'd like to sign up for Drop, then yes, even if you have all those things, clicked off and you're doing all the right things as you should, A, congratulations to you, but B, your information's already out there. Data brokers have it. They're buying and selling it. So you're still going to want to sign up for Drop. I also encourage you, if you have loved ones, community members, anything like that, encourage them to sign up for Drop. If you go to the website, I keep telling you about that had the QR code, you're going to see we have a toolkit on our website. You can truly share Drop. We have an email. You could just send it to your grandma and your niece or whomever you'd like to encourage them to sign up for Drop. So we're just trying to spread the word.
Got it. Thank you so much, Megan. And unfortunately, we are at time here, so we are going to have to end the webinar. If we didn't get to your question, feel free to reach out to me personally, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. So yeah, thank you again to everybody for joining us tonight. We'll be sending out resources and a recorded video of tonight's webinar once it's posted to our website, and so you can share with your friends and family who maybe could not make it tonight. Hope you enjoyed and learned a lot. Thank you so much. Goodbye.